everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Autumn and today I am going to be doing the oldie tag. So this tag was floating around a few years ago when I first started my channel, and I obviously could not do the tag then, and randomly I remembered it a couple of months ago. It stuck with me since it was kind of around my anniversary of having my YouTube channel, and it was something I wanted to do a couple of months ago. You know, got busy and I never got a chance to do it, but here we are and I am going to do it. So there are 10 questions and I'm not going to tag anybody, but if you feel like you've been in the community long enough to do this tag, I am going to be tagging you, and let me know if you end up doing it so I can go watch it. Before we get into this, I'm also going to say that these answers are probably going to be very, very detailed. So this is probably going to be a lot longer of a video than it should be, but I love to talk and I hope you love to listen. So sit back, enjoy the ride, and let's get into it. So the first question of the tag is, how long have you had your authortube channel? I created my authortube channel May 1st of 2020, but I did not actually post my first video until June of 2020. But if we want to get really technical as to like when I would consider myself actually joining the community, it would probably be April of 2020. That was when I decided that I wanted to write a novel and that I didn't know how to. So I resorted to the internet, found the authortube community, and of course I found the how-to videos and the very basic beginner videos first. And then I ended up finding and discovering that there was a whole niche dedicated to writers sharing their journeys and all that authortube contained. Question number 2, what aspect of writing have you improved since joining? Can I say all? Can I say everything with the whole writing process? So before creating my channel and meeting other writers and forming connections with other people who have hopes of publishing one day or creating novels and getting them to a more than a first draft point, I guess maybe publish ready or as ready as a draft as they can get it themselves. Before I joined the community, I had never ever finished writing a complete novel. I've always started, got halfway through, started, wrote a couple of chapters, and then just never went back, or I wrote an ending and then didn't have a beginning. When I joined authortube, I was able to write my first novel and I documented that journey. I will leave it linked down below if you're curious about that, about way back when my channel was a wee thing, if you are curious about that. But since I have joined the community, I can say I have successfully written 2 first drafts of 2 different novels. I definitely don't think I would have been able to do that had I not created my channel, actually sat down and learned the craft of writing, or started to learn. I don't think you'll ever fully learn the craft, but I sat down and I dedicated a lot of time to learning how to structure a novel, to write it, try my best to juggle all of the things that go inside writing a novel, in addition to having critique partners, meeting people through the community who have helped me along my journey. If this had been a solo thing like it had been for 23 years before I started my channel, I would still be writing unfinished drafts and stopping and shelving things. Question number 3, what is your biggest writing accomplishments since starting your channel? I would consider some of my biggest accomplishments since starting my channel would be writing those 2 first drafts from beginning to end. And I know with the second story that I finished, I came up with that idea while I had my YouTube channel. I went through the entire process of brainstorming, plotting out, and writing that story. I would say that that's probably my biggest accomplishment, and I actually have all of that for my second completed draft, or my second completed story, but it's a first draft. I have that entire process filmed from seedling idea to a first draft. I absolutely love that I have that footage. It might be cringy footage, but I'm so glad that I documented that part of my journey. I feel like for the first story, I worked on it for sure when I started my channel, but I had started working on that draft or working on that story before I started my channel. Question number 4, has your drafting style, plotter, pantser, planter evolved since you began your channel? I would say yes. Before I dive deep into this question, let me also just preface this by saying that before I started my channel in 2020, officially my first video being June of 2020, getting back into writing, taking it more seriously, and wanting it to be a hobby again. It had been a very long time since I had sat down to write anything that was creative. I really did not do any sort of writing or short form, any type of creative writing. I hadn't really done since high school, because once I got into university, it was just papers and research papers and all of that stuff. My full-time job is not something creative. It's very science oriented. I did not do any of that before I started my channel. The reason I'm saying that is because I didn't really have a concrete or a super set way of how I did writing or creative writing before I joined the community, because it was kind of non-existent. It was so sporadic, and it had been like 7 years since I had decided to do creative writing, get back into a hobby again. I was starting from scratch, but when I started my channel with how I knew how I was, is I knew I was a plotter. Over the years of being a plotter in my teenage years, I would overplot so much that I wouldn't want to write the story. And that was a huge issue. And then, because I knew that I overplotted, still in my teenage years, then I decided that I was just going to jump in to a story and then write whatever happens. And I would also DNF things because I didn't quite understand my own process, and I didn't quite understand writing craft itself in my teenage years. All of this long-winded, crazy answer to say, yes, my process has changed. Where I would say at one time I was a diehard plotter, another time I was a pantser, but now in my 20s, being a creative writer for about 3 years consistently, I would say that my process has morphed into both. So I'm a plantser. I do a little bit of plotting, well, more than a little bit. I do a decent amount of plotting before I jump into the story. So I always make sure I have my characters, my main character, motivations, flaws, things like that. For the plot, I try to have as many beats for that plot as possible throughout the entire story, some subplots, and then a little bit of world building. Since I write fantasy, I like to have the world building laid out. That's gonna change, so that one's not quite as much of a priority as characters and plot, but I understand my process a lot more. So I do plot all of this out in advance, but why I consider myself more of a planter is because when I am drafting, writing my first drafts, if I feel something as I'm writing, if I feel like there's an avenue that needs to be explored, I explore it. I will follow that road for as long as I can, discovery drafting, whatever that idea might be. What I have learned over the years to do, which I did not do as a teenager when I would pants. Now, if I'm writing down that avenue and if I feel like it's something that's not working, it's not what I thought it was gonna be, it's not really fitting into the story, what I do is I just stop writing that idea. I stop, reset myself, and I'll either continue on with the scene before I went down that avenue, or I'll just start the next scene. What I did in the past was panic, freak out, I didn't know what to do, and so I stopped writing. I never worked through anything, so I never got over that hump, that rut. And yeah, long-winded answer again to say my process has changed. I feel like I'm a lot more confident in my writing now because I have made so many mistakes over the last 3 years in my writing, and I've learned from those mistakes with those previous stories, and I'm applying them to the new stories that I write. And I also want to say that because I'm saying I'm more confident in my writing, it's definitely not saying that it's perfect. It is absolutely 110% not perfect, but I'm much more confident in my skills that if I get to a point where I'm not quite sure where I wanted to go, it wasn't where I was expecting this pantsing scene to go, I don't panic, because that was what I would do in the past. And also with my plotting, I'm a lot more confident that I can get more of the story out while I'm plotting it and working it through to try to figure out if there's a plot hole somewhere, so then I can work through that while I'm plotting the story, versus when I get to that part in the story and I'm like, shit, that's a plot hole. I mean, not saying that that still doesn't happen. It definitely still happens, but I'm just more confident in my writing than I was 3 years ago or even 7 years ago when I was a teenager trying to. Actually, I wasn't a teenager 7 years ago. Never mind. I just had a quarter life crisis and I'm not even 25. Next question. If you plan to publish, has your publishing path goals, traditional, indie, or hybrid, changed since joining? And I would say that has absolutely changed. Long story. When I first started my channel, I wanted to be a self-published author. I didn't really quite understand what all went into traditional publishing and what all went into self-publishing. I feel like in my 3 years of knowing authors who are both indie and traditionally published and just doing my own research about both publishing paths, I could say that if I choose to be published, I would prefer to go the traditional publishing route now, as of 3 years after starting my journey. And the reasons why I've changed is because there's just so much work and pressure for indie authors. All of the hats that self-published authors have to wear, I don't think that's for me. And I have so much respect for self-published authors and everything that they do. I just don't think that that's a path for me. I don't think I would be a very successful self-published author. I wouldn't even know where to begin, to be totally honest. For me, traditional publishing would be the best, because if I even ever made it to the point of having something that is query ready, I'm able to query it, I find an agent that is somewhat interested in my story, and then we go through the next phase, which is submission, I think. And then if a publishing house is just somewhat interested in what I'm writing, and then I end up getting a book deal, I would feel so much more confident having a whole team behind me, having professionals that know what covers are supposed to look like for my genre, developmental editor or editors, and all the different types of editing, and then formatting and going about it that way, and then the whole marketing. That's a lot for just one person, which would be an indie published author. All that they have to do, all of that. They have to hire people to do whatever kind of edits they want. If they hire somebody to do a cover, formatting, any of that stuff. And that still takes a lot of research, making sure you find someone who you connect with, who's good for your genre, all of that stuff. That's just not for me. It's for some people, and I freaking love that it's for them, but that's definitely not for me. If I ever make it to the point of having something that would be published traditionally, which is so weird to say because it just seems like it's a dream that's so far out there that it's not even remotely close. And I did make a video about my 3 to 5 year kind of plans, goals, dreams. If you guys are interested in that video, I'll leave it linked down below. Actually, really am proud of that video, but I go more into details about that in that video. But long story short, it would be traditional publishing. However, I consider myself more of a creative writer as a hobby. If it ever became anything more, I would be super happy. But my goal is to not be a full-time author. I already have a full-time job. It pays my bills. It is not a creative job. It's a very stressful mind game job. All of my writing and all of the creative stuff I do is for fun. It's just for funsies. Hopefully I get something out there. It would be amazing to have something to actually hold and not show people. I wouldn't show people if I'm a writer or an author. So that has definitely changed over the years. Question number 6. What is something writing or channel related you've learned the hard way? So I'm actually gonna answer both of these because I feel like I have experience with both of these two things that I've had to learn the hard way. I will be totally and completely brutally honest with myself. When I first started my channel, writing wise, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Okay? Had no idea. I was just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something somewhere at some point on the wall, it got stuck. I made a lot of mistakes with my writing. There's a lot that I should have done before. Like, I should have learned a lot more about story structure and the mechanics of writing a story before just jumping on in, documenting my journey on the internet. There's just so much about the writing craft itself that I've learned, and I've learned it through Brandon Sanderson's writing lectures online. I have read multiple writing craft books, and listening to other writers talk about their writing journeys through writing vlogs, or they'll do monthly recaps. That has seriously helped me with my writing. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's learning the hard way, but being brutally honest with myself, I did not know what I was doing writing related when I started my channel. It was rough, so very, very rough with my writing. But I slowly started to learn that. Maybe not slowly. I feel like I learned pretty quickly that I didn't know what the heck I was doing and I needed to figure out what I was doing. And so I dove back into learning the craft. I think I had to learn that the hard way and kind of juggle trying to write a novel and learning how to write a novel. I had to kind of do it all at the same time, but the story I was writing was honestly way too advanced for my writing skills at the time. I just really had to learn that my writing was really not as good as I thought that it was, and my knowledge of the craft was not as good as I thought it was. But over 3 years, I would say that I've definitely learned a lot. I'm still not an expert. I definitely don't claim to know everything, but I understand my writing process a lot more. Hopefully I would after 3 years. That, I guess, would be my answer for the writing. Channel-wise, the hardest part to me would be realizing how much extra time it takes to create a YouTube video. And this is not just sitting in front of the camera and talking to you guys. So I script all of my videos. This video is scripted. My vlogs are normally scripted. I usually have topics and things that I want to talk about with you guys. I never just wing it. I need a plan going into a video. But what does that mean? A plan, you need to plan out. So I spend probably 2 to 3 hours planning out each of my videos, and then however long it takes me to film a video. Vlogs, I usually film vlogs over several days. That's usually 2 to 3 hours each day I'm vlogging. Or with this video, I've been filming for 25 minutes already, and I'm a little more than halfway done with the questions, but I still have a lot more to go. So filming this video, or filming any video, and then having to edit, and the editing process takes me forever. I wish I could dedicate just one day out of the week to just edit a video. If there were 8 days in a week, I'd be golden. I would never miss an upload. It's just not having that extra day that really messes me up, man. Why couldn't there have been 8 days in a week? So I had to learn that the hard way, and learning that I wanted to be a writer who shared my journey on YouTube. So I wanted to do both, and I still want to do both. I love creating videos. I love expressing my creativity through YouTube and expressing it through my writing. So sometimes I find it difficult to balance both, but I also want to keep in mind that at the end of the day, I do take my writing more seriously than I do take uploading a video. But I love when I can do both, and I'm vlogging and I can do both at the same time. It definitely takes a lot more time to edit videos and run a YouTube channel than one would think. I'm okay with that because this is a creative side of myself that I absolutely love, and I will always make videos. It might be a while, I might skip uploads. Hopefully I never miss a month of uploads, but I always plan on having my channel and documenting my writing journey and little snippets of other things too. I know as my channel has gone on, I've shared a lot more lifestyle and a little bit more of reading in my vlogs than just strictly writing, and I love that because I want my channel to be relatable, and I want it to look like I'm a normal person. You know, I work a job, it's a non-traditional job, and I do all of my fun creative stuff in my complete downtime. This is not answering the question. This kind of went off course. How much extra time it took to make videos. And I didn't even talk about making thumbnails, uploading the video. I think I stopped at editing videos and I went down a rant. A little rabbit hole. The part of the editing that I hate the most is the initial cut, because there's so much I have to pick through and shift through that seeing 4 hours of footage and having to cut it down to 30 minutes is bananas. And I never realize how much I actually talk until I'm going to edit my videos, and I'm like, girlfriend, you need to shut up. You talk way too much. And this is a perfect example. Moving on to the next question after I have a sip of my water. We are nearing the end, friends. This is question number 7 out of 10, but I already know that the last question of this is going to be a very long one, so we're probably about halfway done with the video. Question number 7, in what ways has AuthorTube changed since you started your channel? I don't know if it's necessarily AuthorTube that's changed, but maybe my shift in content that I like. So when I first started, I mentioned this at the beginning, I watched a lot of how-to videos, very basic videos talking about, you know, the writing craft. And I know we did a lot of live streams. That was a big thing too. And I know I did a lot of live streams when I first joined the community. I think over the 3 years, writing vlogs are definitely more of what I prefer for content to consume on YouTube. I don't know if there's been an increase in writing vlogs or if it's just been what I've discovered I prefer in content. So I don't know if it's necessarily evolved, like the content has evolved. I mean, it's probably shifted a little bit. I don't feel like there's quite as many writing sprints nowadays as there used to be. I feel like when I had first joined, and I know it was the panini and everything, and we all ran to the internet to connect with one another. And I'm so glad that we had the internet to connect with one another. But I do feel like since people are starting to be going to work more during the day and they're not working from home as much, we aren't seeing quite as many live streams all throughout the day, 24/7, everything. I do think writing sprints aren't as frequent. I know I don't do writing sprints as frequently anymore. I do one guaranteed a month with my lovely friend Sarah Sutton, and then I will occasionally do another live stream at a different time, but those are few and far between. Now in our community versus when I started, there's a lot more published authors, both traditional and self-published. I do see a lot more authors sharing their publishing journeys. I guess that could be something that's more frequent, or I know I've seen other writers talk about their writing process, not necessarily in vlog form, but they'll do monthly recaps, or they'll have sit-down videos talking about how they do things, like how they've been outlining their story, or how they wrote their first draft, how they're planning on revising it. I guess instead of videos, when I first started them being how-to videos, I guess maybe they've morphed into more of how I do things type videos, or how I do X writing thing, which I appreciate and I enjoy because we're all in different stages in our writing process. Having everybody being in different stages and then talking about how their process could be similar to somebody else's, but it's a little bit different. So I guess those would be things that I'd say have evolved in the 3 years since I've joined the community. Question number 8, what is something that infuriates you about AuthorTube? So this is not necessarily an AuthorTube thing. I've seen this kind of sprinkled throughout the writing community on all platforms, and it is something that when I first started my channel, it was almost like it was something I had to do, like a requirement of me. In order for me to be a writer, I had to do this. This is also something I've seen over the years, and it was something I remember when I was a teenager trying to write, that people would say this too, that you have to write every day. And if you don't write every day, you're not a writer, or you're not going to be a successful writer. And that is utter bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. You don't have to write every day in order to be considered a writer. You don't have to write every day to be a successful writer, because success is what you define it. If you want to write 5,000 words and it takes you 6 weeks to do that and you don't write every day, guess what? You were still successful because you went out and did what you wanted to do. You reached your goal. You don't have to write every day. And if you write every day, that is still amazing. And if that's what you want, freaking awesome. You do you, boo. But I can't do that. I work a non-traditional job, like I said. I have other responsibilities, and sometimes, most of the times, I don't write every day. I don't think there's a single week this year, or probably within the past 2 years, that I have written every single day of the week. And I still consider myself successful. That's one thing that I wouldn't even say that that is just strictly AuthorTube. I've seen that other places and other, what the hell are those things called? Help forums, or like writing forums. I know I've seen that on Pinterest, you know, if there's 10 writing tips or whatever, and then you click the link and then it opens up someone's blog or whatever, and then number one is to write every day, that sends me into orbit, because it's just not true. It's not true. And I wish more people would talk about how you don't have to write every day in order to be successful. I don't understand that. And I guess this next part kind of goes hand in hand with that. In all of your downtime, in every single second of my downtime, I need to be writing. Absolutely not. No, I don't. And I'm probably never going to write in every spare second of my life. I am not AI, okay? I'm a human and I have needs. And sometimes those needs come before my writing. Those are things that frustrate me, maybe about the writing community as a whole, not necessarily authortube. And I really don't know if I've seen that necessarily on authortube. I don't know if I've personally ever seen someone in a writing vlog say, oh, well, if you don't write every day, you're not successful. It's a myth around the writing community. So question number 9, what is your hope for the future of authortube? I feel like every day, every month, we have a lot more people joining our community and different levels of experience. We have beginners, we have people who have been writing for years and years and years and have just decided to create a channel and document their journey. And then we have other people coming in who have published works and they want to share their publishing journey, in addition to writing new novels. We also have writers on here who write short stories and poetry. We've just created a community that is really accepting into everybody, and that's what I love. I would say that we all pretty much are really supportive on authortube already. I don't know if I've ever really ran into anybody that's been negative, because I think we all get it. Writing is hard, no matter what kind of writer you are. If you write full-time, if you are a part-time writer, if you have a full-time job and you write on the side for a hobby, just for kicks and giggles, we all get it. It's insanely difficult, and there's room for all of us on here, for sure, 110%. Okay, so the last question that I know is going to be probably my longest answer, so I'm gonna get a sip of water again, and then we're gonna dive into this last question. So I highly recommend you also just taking a sip of water or whatever your beverage of choice is, because I am gonna over-explain this question or my response to this question. Prepare for the last 10 minutes of the video. The last question is to share some oldie wisdom for newbie authortubers. I'm gonna say all of this in no particular order, but I would say to just have fun. If you're debating on joining, I say just do it. Just jump on in, have fun, record everything. Record your videos like nobody's watching. It's so weird talking to a camera. So weird, so awkward at first. I mean, I still feel like I get a little awkward when I haven't really filmed for a while, and then getting back and talking in front of a camera is a little weird, not gonna lie. But just act like you're talking to a friend, act like you're just hanging out, and you're talking about something you love. Like you're talking about writing, reading, whatever's going on in your life, and just have fun with it. When I first started my channel, I was so unsure about what to vlog, but now I feel like I vlog and talk about so much unnecessary shit. I have so much footage of me just talking, and I cut out so much of that. I would say when you start your channel, record you talking about everything. And then when you edit, you can always edit that stuff out. Me personally, I love when writing vlogs have a little bit of lifestyle content in them, because I feel like it makes us connect with you a little bit more as a creative, and then understanding, oh, okay, this person does all of this in addition to writing. It just makes it a little more relatable. And that's if you want your videos to show more lifestyle content, or if you want to have more footage than not having enough footage. That would be my advice, is to just film more than you want, but of course, share what you want in your own time and in your own, comfort. Be comfortable with what you're gonna be sharing online, because gonna be there forever. I said this earlier, where I plan my content for all of my videos. That is totally something I would recommend. I have an Excel spreadsheet with all of my video ideas. Any single video idea that I could potentially film one day goes in that Excel spreadsheet. When I am planning out my content, so I try to plan out my content for the next month. At the end of August, I was planning out my content for September. Now, sometimes life gets in the way, sometimes things happen, and I'm not able to stick to the schedule accordingly. When things like that happen, sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches, and it is what it is. But if you're able to plan out your content. That's what I would totally recommend. And figure out, like, if you have a book haul you want to do, but then you're gonna rearrange your office, you can combine those two things into one. And then while you're doing both, you can make it a voiceover and talk about your writing, or you can not make it a voiceover and then as you're doing the things, talk about your writing, talk about your process, or turn it into like a tag video, like how this would be. I didn't have anything I needed to clean or whatever, so this is why we're sitting here. But if I wanted to have made it more spunky and funky fresh, I probably could have been doing other things, and that would have made it a little more engaging, but it is what it is. The reason I plan out my content is on my days off are the days that I film. When I'm going into a video or going into a day, I know exactly what I want to film for that day, what all I'm gonna be doing. And of course, that all depends on your life. If you're able to do things like that, just see what you can do and what you can't do. Don't spread yourself out too thin. And uploading video wise, I would probably start with doing 2 videos a month. If you're gonna do vlogs, I would do 2 vlogs a month, because I am telling you now, vlogs take forever to edit. And the worst thing is to rush a vlog or to rush any video, and then you're not gonna be proud of it. So I would say spend a week filming, spend a week editing, and then post the video the next week, and then film, edit, and then post the next week. I know that was 6 weeks, but once you get on a schedule, you could do it 2 videos a month, or do 1 vlog and then a tag video, or do a vlog and setting goals for the next month or whatever. That's what I would recommend to at least start with. If you are trying to get into the community, but you're also trying to figure out how to film videos, edit thumbnails, doing all the things. And so you're not necessarily looking on authortube, but you're looking for that kind of content elsewhere, like that niche, and you have people who do it for a profession, and sometimes they have help doing all of their videos. They will sometimes recommend doing 1 video a week for consistency. When you're first starting, personally, I would not go down that road. I don't think you should start trying to do 1 video a week, because you're still trying to adjust your life and everything to making videos and uploading them. So I think that's the fastest way to get burnt out, at least in our niche, is trying to start right out the gate 1 video a week while you're still writing, you're still working, you're still doing whatever else you're doing. That's what I would do. If I started over, I would do 2 videos a month and then probably 1 live stream a month. And that's kind of what I did last month. I think I had just 2 uploads and then a live stream. That's what I would do, and I'd do that for a little while and see if I could handle doing a 3rd upload a month. And then maybe if you didn't want to do live streams and you wanted to turn that live stream into another content video, then you could. Yeah, for sure. But I say starting out, just take it slow. Yeah, take it slow, plan out your content, have fun, film like nobody's watching, and yeah, that's all there is to it. We have a great community here on YouTube. We're all really forgiving, and I know when I miss uploads, I will usually type up an apology in the community tab, and everybody's like, you're fine. We're here when you need us. Just do your thing, and we'll see you soon. Don't ever feel bad about missing an upload, even though if you're like me, you'll still feel bad about missing an upload. But it's okay. You'll adjust. So that's the last question. Again, I'm not gonna tag anybody in this, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is gonna be a monster video to edit. I always do this to myself. I make videos way longer than they need to be. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you loved hanging out with me for a little while and listening to me chat for probably about 30 minutes. But let me know if you're gonna do this tag. Let me know if any of what I talked about today you relate to. If you are a newbie, welcome to our community. I hope that question number 10 was able to give you a little bit of my advice and things that I would have done differently if I was starting my channel now. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I am Autumn Ashley, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.